Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I'm Arif and I welcome you all to the next session of the lecture series on Internet Working with Linux. In today's session we are going to talk about Network File System, NFS. It is a distributed file system protocol originally developed by Sun Microsystems in 1984. Later Sun Microsystems handed over the development of NFS protocols to Internet Engineering Task Force. So the latest version, NFS version 4, which was influenced by Andrew file system and server message block, includes performance improvements, mandates strong security, and introduces a stateful protocol as well. Well, in today's session, we are going to install Nfs Server component on our Ubuntu Server machine, and we'll create a shared directory hierarchy that we will share with other computers on the network. We will install NFS client component on our Kali machine, and we'll see how we can mount these remote shares using the old System 5 init way, that is by putting an entry in the fstab file, as well as we will also try to access these remote shares using the new systemd way by creating an appropriate mount unit file. Last but not the least, we will use Microsoft Windows 10 machine to access the NFS shares residing on the Ubuntu Server machine. Okay, right now I'm on the Ubuntu Server machine. On the server side, we need to perform 4 tasks. First is the installation of NFS Server package, then creating the shared directory, then exporting that shared directory, and finally we will check out the firewall configurations to ensure that we allow incoming connections for NFS. Let's start playing. Hostname Ubuntu Server. If config, the IP address is 192.168.1.100. I am root. Okay, let me do apt cache. Search nfs-server. Okay, the component I want to install is nfs kernel server. Let me do apt-get install nfs-kernel-server. Well, it is already the newest version. Let us now check out the port number on which NFS Server will listen from the file @c services. Let me grab NFS. Well, the port number is 2049. Now let us start the service. Systemctl start nfs-kernel-server.service. Let's check the status. It is up and running. Okay, let us check out using netstat as well. -ant, and let me grab the port 2049. Well, it is listening. Okay, now the first part is done. The second part is we need to create our directory on the server machine, which we want to be shared on all the other client machines. Okay, let me create a directory, mkdir. Let me use -p option so that the directories which are not in the path should also be created. Let me call it Arif shares 1. And let me create another directory with the name of Arif shares 2 as well. If I do, let's suppose ls-ld, you can see both these directories are owned by root because they are created by root. But we want that anyone should be able to read and write these directories. So let us change their ownership to nobody and no group. chown nobody : no group. var nfs Arif shares 1, and let me apply it to 2 as well, and let me check out again. You can see that it is owned by, both these directories are owned by nobody now. Okay, let me create a file over here. Let me do echo hello nfs, and let me redirect to a file, let's suppose f1.txt in Arif share 1, and let me make a directory dir1 as well in the same directory. Okay. One more point you need to keep in mind is that all the directories above Arif shares 1 or Arif shares 2, that is var and nfs, must have at least execute permissions. Otherwise, you will not be able to access them. Okay, fine. We have created the directory to be shared. The next task, that is the third task, is to export the shared directory. We want to export it so that clients on this network should be able to access it. And to perform this task, we need to put an entry in the Nfs Server export table. And the Nfs Server export table resides in a file @cexports. But before I go into editing that file, let me do man5 exports. Okay, well, this exports file is basically a table of local physical file system on an NFS server, which are accessible to NFS clients. The file format is similar to the SunOS exports file. You can read this at the time of your ease. The important point is that it contains lines, and each line contains an export point and a white space separated list of clients that are allowed to mount the file system on that point. Okay, do read it whenever you have, whenever you are stuck up doing something. Okay, let me do vim @cexports. Okay, you can see this line on which my cursor is. Remember, each exported file system should be on its own individual line. So I have two lines over here. One line is exporting var nfs arif shares 1, and the other is exporting var nfs arif shares 2. After this share, you need to write down the host name. I have written an asterisk over here. Asterisk means anyone, any Tom, Dick and Harry on the network can access it. You can use a specific IP address or maybe a host name to specify a single host. For example, if I want to my Kali machine to access this, I can write down over here 192.168.1.101. Okay, but I want everyone to come over here, so let me write asterisk over here. You can also specify a network address to allow all the hosts on a particular network to access this shared directory. Similarly, you can use a NIS net group name as well. So I have used an asterisk where there is no problem. After this, there are options. There are options related to export. You can just leave them to default, but let me discuss some options that are written over here. The first is the read write. You can write down read only as well. The second is the sync. The sync option means that the client request will be replied only after the changes have been committed to the stable storage, and this is the default. Then we have all squash. Okay, you can have all squash, you can have no root squash, you can have root squash over here. Okay. Students, remember, if a user wants that he or she should be able to access his or her files on the server just as she would do on a normal file system, then the same UIDs and GIDs must be used on both the machines, the client as well as the server. Mostly this is not required. So all squash option, which I have used over here, maps all user requests to the anonymous UID and GID, which is normally 65534. So all squash means this. Anyway, the other option I have given over here is no subtree check. This option disables subtree checking, which has a mild security implication, but it does improve reliability. If you want to write down some other IP over here, you can always do that. For example, 192.168.1.103, and you want to give it certain other options, you can write those options over here. So this entry can contain space separated list of all the hosts with which you want to share this file system. So if I have used a asterisk over here to keep things simple, so that means I don't want to put more entries over here. All the machines will be able to access both these shares. Okay, let me save and exit. Clear screen. After we have made changes to this etc exports file, either we need to restart the NFS service by using systemctl restart nfs-server.service, or you can also use the export fs command to update the changes made in the exports file to the master exports table, which resides in var lib nfs etab file. Let me give it -rav option. R means re-export directory, that is synchronized etab file with exports file. A means all directories or all the entries in the export file need to be exported, and V means verbose mode. Okay, so you can see that both the directories have been exported, and the last step we need to do to be on the safe side, just check out the status of the firewall. UFW, let me disable it. UFW status. This is done so that we want to allow different applications to walk through our firewall. For the time being, let's disable it. Inshallah, in some future section, we will talk about Linux firewalls and IP tables, inshallah. Okay, I think the tasks which we need to do on the server side are done. Let's move on to the client machine. Okay. 192.168.1.101. This is the IP of our Kali machine. Host name is of course Kali. And I am Arif. Fine. Now we need to install the NFS client package over here. Okay, let me install it using sudo apt-get install nfs-common. So this is the name of the package that we need to install. So this is the newest version. The next step is to create a mount point where we want to mount the exported directory, that is Arif shares 1 and Arif shares 2. Well, dear students, mounting a file system is actually a process of making a foreign file system look like part of the main tree. And the mount point is simply a directory where the file system, local or remote, is grafted into the tree. Remember, if the mount point directory already contains files and directories, they will no longer be visible to you until the mounted file system is unmounted. So it is always better to use empty directories as mount point. So let us use empty directories. Let me create directories. mkdir -p, and I want to make directories in my home directory with the name of nfs myshares1, and let me create another one with the name of myshares2, and let me cd to this, and you can see I have myshares1 which is empty, and I have myshares2 directory which is empty. So these are the 2 points, 2 mount points which on which I want to mount the foreign file systems. And to mount that, the command is sudo mount, let's suppose the IP 192.168.1.100. This is the IP of the Ubuntu server machine, and the path of the directory is var nfs arif shares1, and I want to mount it in home arif nfs, okay, my shares1. Okay, now if I do ls my shares1, you can see the two files over here. Let me cd to my shares1, clear screen, do ls cat f1.txt, so it contains this, and let me cat, okay, let me echo good, and let me append this to f1.txt. Okay, permission is denied. This is because this f1.txt has been created by the root over here on the server machine. Let me move on to the server machine, and let me move on to var nfs and arif shares1, and you can see they are owned by root. Let me repeat the same command, chown nobody :no group to f1.txt, and let me repeat the command on the client side again. I am successful. Let me create a new directory over here with the name of new dir, and if I come over here on the Kali machine, on the server machine, you can see the new directory is there. And if I do f1, I cat f1.txt, you can see it has been appended with good. So that means the directories have been shared, and we are here. Things are working fine. Okay, now let me show you the contents of the file that is known as /mtab. Okay, concentrate on this entry. The last entry is actually regarding our NFS share that we have just mounted. You can see this. All the options are there which we have written and which we haven't written as well. You can see it has, let me clear screen, and let me grab Arif shares from this. Okay, this entry has 6 fields. The first field is actually the file system which is mounted. The second field is the mount point. The third field is the file system type. The fourth field, which is quite a bit long, are the mount options. And finally we have this fifth field, which is the dump frequency. And then finally we have the FSCK order. I will talk about this in a bit of time. Okay, anyway, let me unmount sudo umount home arif nfs my shares1, and it says it is busy because I am right now inside that directory. I need to go out and I need to repeat the command. I am successful. Let me do ls my shares1. You can see it is no more mounted. My shares directory has gone empty now. Okay, now being on the client side, we have seen how we can mount our NFS shares, but after a reboot, these will not be available. If you want a file system to be available or mounted automatically after a reboot, you can ensure it in 2 ways. Let's do that. The first is the /fstab file. This is a system 5 init way of doing it. That is, you put an entry in the @fstab file. Do see the main page from chapter 5 of fstab file. This contains descriptive information about the file system that the system can mount. Fstab is only read by programs, not written. It is the duty of the system administrator to properly create and maintain this file and blah blah blah. Do see that there are a lot of details about this file. Okay, let me do sudo vim @fstab. Okay, so this is the file. Let me put a sample entry for you over here. 192.168.1.100 colon var nfs Arif shares 1. So this is actually the file system to be mounted. It may be a device name or maybe a label. Then we put a space and then we write down the mount point. Home Arif nfs my shares 1. Then we need to put the file system type nfs, and then we need to write the comma separated list of mount options like rw real-time auto user no fail no log and so on. There can be others as well. Then we put a space and we write down a 0 for the dump frequency. This field is used by dump command of Linux to determine which file system needs to be dumped or backed up. A 0 means do not dump. A 1 means dump daily, and 2 means dump every next day. So we don't want to dump it, so we put a 0 over here. Then we put another 0. This is the fsck order. This sixth field is used by fsck command, file system check command, to determine the order in which the file system checks are done at boot time to maintain file system integrity. A 0 means do not run fsck on this file system, and a 1 means run fsck first on this file system. You will normally find a 1 at the root file system and normally find a 0 elsewhere. So that is it. You just save and exit this file, and after reboot this file will be read, and that remote file system will be mounted on every boot. You don't have to do it manually. Okay, this was one way of mounting the file system at boot time. The other way, that the newer way of managing services and mounting files, is systemd. Well, systemd has replaced the old system5 init daemon as well as a short-lived upstart daemon. I have a video on this in my OS session. If you want to go through that, please do go through that session of system daemon. So these are the available unit types. You can see a lot of units over here. Well, right now we are interested in the mount unit. In systemd, a unit is actually a resource that system knows how to operate and manage. Let us see some existing unit files. Let me ls lib systemd system. Oops, there are a lot of files. You can see different unit files in this directory. There are service unit files, target unit files, mount unit files, socket unit files. You can see a lot of unit files. Okay, let me clear screen and let me grab only the mount files from here. Okay, so these are the mount files. Well, remember, a unit file is basically a configuration file that describes how to manage a specific resource. And the naming convention is such that the name ends with something .unit. And you can see the .mount files. Now what we need to do is we need to write a mount file, a mount unit file, in order to mount the NFS share residing in Ubuntu Server machine. Well, before we write a mount file of our own, let me do man5 systemd.unit. oops, systemd.unit. So do read this man page. This has plethora of information about the configuration files of systemd, and once you are done with it, you can go through with the man page of systemd.mount. Excuse me. And well, this is specific to mount unit configuration file, and which is a unit configuration file whose name end in .mount encodes information about a file system, mount point, controlled and supervised by systemd, and so on. And this also tells you the structure of a mount file. So let me create a mount file for our NFS share. Let me do sudo vim and let us create the mount file in the directory etc systemd system directory. Instead of creating your files in libsystemd system directory, you should always create them in etc systemd system directory. And well, the name of the file is very important. The name of the file should be such as that you just replace the / with a hyphen. So we want to mount at /home /arif nfs my shares 2. So the name will be home. Instead of / I put a hyphen arif. Instead of / I put a hyphen nfs. Instead of / I put a hyphen my shares, and let me call it my shares 2. So this is actually the mount point, absolute path of the mount points having hyphen in between instead of slashes. And finally mount. So I hope I haven't done any typo. etc systemd system home hyphen arif hyphen nfs hyphen my shares 2 dot mount. So the first component of this file is unit. All the unit files are organized into sections, and normally most of the files have 3 sections, and most of them have the first section as the unit section. This unit section actually defines the metadata of the unit file. Okay, let me complete it. Description. This is the just description for a user by Arif. Description is this. After this, directive tells you that this should be executed after network.target is achieved. The next section is the mount section, and the first thing in the mount section is what, and over here you will describe the path of the shared directory, and that is the device to be mounted. And since it is a remote, so let me write down the IP 192.168.1.100:/var nfs arif shares 2. Let me mount arif shares 2 this time over here. Excuse me. The next is where. So this is actually the mount point, and you know that mount point is home arif nfs my shares 2. So this is the mount point on the Kali machine. Then we have the type, and the type is nfs, and then we have options, and a lot of options that you can give. Let me give underscore netdiv and auto. The third and the last section is install, and if you want this to be active in run level 3 or 5, we just say it wanted by multi-user.target. So that is it. Let's save and exit this file. Let me do sudo systemctl daemon reload, and let me do sudo systemctl start home hyphen arif-nfs-myshares2.mount. It is mounted, and let me check the status now. Okay, it's up and running. Let me move on to the mount point now, and that is inside my home directory, inside NFS. It is the myshare2 directory. And if I see over here, you can see myshare2 directory has been created automatically. Previously, I have created myshares1, but I haven't created myshares2, so it has been created. Let me go to myshares2. Let me do ls. It is empty. Let me do touch abcd. I have created a file over here. If I come up on my Ubuntu server machine and I go back one step to Arif shares 2 and I do ls, you can see the abcd file is there. And if I create a directory over here, mkdir.ddd, you can see that directory is created over here as well. Okay, to ensure that this remote file system which we have just mounted, that gets mounted on every reboot, it is very simple. Just enable it. Systemctl enable home arif nfs myshares2.mount. It will create a soft link of our mount file in multi-user.target.mounts directory over here. Multi-user.target.mounts. A soft link will be created over here. So even after the reboot, you will find it with you. Okay, so far so good. Let us change gear and see how we can access our NFS shares over here. Let's suppose NFS share 1 on our Microsoft Windows 10 machine. Fine, the first thing we need to do is turn on the feature of NFS on the Windows machine. To do that, open the control panel and just click Program and Features. In the left pane, you have turn Windows feature on. Come up over here and find out. We need to find out services for NFS. Well, over here. Select this. Press OK. And wait. This will enable this feature of NFS so that you should be able to mount those NFS shares which are residing on the Ubuntu server machine. It will not take much time. Okay, I don't want to do a restart. Hopefully I will be able to access it. Okay, let me open the command prompt. I have the command prompt over here. Let me open a browser over here, my PC. This is my PC over here. Okay, let me give the command mount. And what I want to mount is 192.168.1.100, which is the IP of the Ubuntu server, / the path var nfs / arif share, sorry for the typos, arif shares 1, and let's mount it on a label x /. You can see it has come up over here. A mount is successful. If I double click this, the files will of course appear, but of course the GUI things are a bit slow. This is the file f1, and if we create a new directory over here, we can always create a new directory. Good luck. This new directory is created, and let me go to my server and to Arif shares 1 and see, you can see the good luck directory over here. So we are of course connected. And if you want that you don't want it to be available anymore, you just want to unmount it, you use umount uh, and and there you go. You can see it is no more there. Okay, that's all folks. I hope today's session was informative for you all. If you have liked it, please subscribe my YouTube channel and share it with your friends. Happy learning and Allah Hafiz.